Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for the first day of June 2017, the first day of the Atlantic hurricane season. But it's also hurricane season in the Pacific, and we have Tropical Storm Beatriz now just off the coast of Mexico. It'll make landfall in the next several hours, bringing quite a bit of heavy rain. Let's take a look at a satellite picture of it. This will be a visible satellite shot, a still image, and you can see that it's got a pretty good little curlicue to it. Somewhat ill-defined overall. It's not the best organized system for sure, but it's there nonetheless, and the biggest threat down here will be excessive rainfall, and some of that energy may make it into the Gulf of Mexico, Bay of Campeche here, and eventually end up affecting portions of the northwest Gulf over time. So this will have to be something that's watched for possible weak development in terms of energy, wind field, whatever, but the heavy rain threat up here could be there. So we'll need to watch this, and I'll talk about it in the days to come. For now, a low-end impact from wind, tropical storm, but a fairly significant rainmaker down here, and then again maybe up here later on as some of this energy jumps over. And that's something we'll keep an eye on. This is the forecast map from the National Hurricane Center making landfall tonight. The center will dissipate the low-level center, but again, some of that energy might come over into the Gulf and southwest Bay of Campeche, and we'll track it. We'll see what happens with that. Sea surface temperature anomalies, departures from normal for today, the first day of the hurricane season. Very, very warm out here in the deep tropics compared to average. A few cool pockets in the eastern Pacific, but overall basically warm neutral here along the equatorial Pacific. And what I'm getting at is there is no El Nino in place. There's no La Nina right now. We are pretty much neutral, and that's probably the way that it'll stay, maybe the warm side of neutral, just under traditional El Nino thresholds. Why does that matter? Usually when the tropical Pacific here is warmer than normal, you have a lot of upward motion over here, rising air in the Pacific, and then you typically have sinking air and shearing winds across the tropical Atlantic. And when you get these tropical waves that come off and move westward, they get sheared apart, and so your big development areas are going to be up in the subtropics. But in seasons like this, where it's not very warm compared to average in the Pacific, but the Atlantic is warmer than normal, we may have a pretty busy season ahead. Some of the different agencies, and whether private or otherwise, are calling for above normal activity. Some are calling for an average season. We'll have to see. It's going to be an interesting time ahead. Hopefully people are ready. One way or the other, because you just never know. We could have 10 hurricanes out there, and if none of them hit land, then except for shipping interests, who cares, right? Something to track, but if they don't hit land, then they don't bother a majority of people. Would only be a shipping interest, and that's what happened in 2010 as an example. So you just never know, but we'll be on top of it. That part I can assure you. Just another look at the El Nino situation, what we call the state of the ENSO. ENSO, E-N-S-O, El Nino Southern Oscillation Phenomenon. This is the subsurface anomalies chart that's updated most recently. And even though there is more of this, positive side of the chart, the positive anomalies over here, they're weak. Only a half to a degree Celsius. That's it. We're not seeing any strong anomalies at all. So I just don't think we're going to see an El Nino this year, at least the hurricane season. Gulf of Mexico, for the most part, warm enough to develop tropical systems, except for this purplish area. Still just a little bit below, and most of the northern Gulf is running below normal anyway. But you know as well as I do, by August and September, it'll be nice and toasty, and certainly warm enough to sustain intense hurricanes, even though things are a little cooler than they should be right now. Off the east coast, water temperatures along the surf areas are warming up, and offshore, they're plenty warm for tropical development, and a good deal of this area is running above the long-term average. So, yeah, it's time. We've got to watch this closely. Not until August and September do things become more volatile. but June and July, you never know, right? Want to remind you that tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, I will be doing a special broadcast that I call Day 1. The hurricane season is 183 days long, something like that, right? 6 months, believe it or not, June 1st through November 30th. And today's the first day, so I'm going to do a special broadcast presentation on YouTube Live. And you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, Hurricane Track, Hurricane TRACK, all one word, and on our Facebook page, YouTube and Facebook, and so that would be facebook.com/Hurricane Track. Hurricane Pro and HD will no doubtedly tweet when I go live. They'll tweet the link so you can follow there. And if you miss it, it'll be available in the archive. I'll discuss the season ahead, plus some of the technology that we use to cover hurricanes in the field. I would argue that we do it just as good as any of the networks, especially with some of the technology that we have now. And I'm going to discuss that, some of the history, and then what you can do to be better prepared this season, and more of the stuff you don't hear about. Some of tips from somebody who's been in 20 hurricanes plus, yours truly. I think it's my responsibility to kind of share what I've learned out there, because I've certainly seen a lot. All right, well, that's it from me for today. Have a great rest of your Thursday afternoon. Again, I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com and, of course, for Hurricane Pro and HD. I'll be back with another video discussion for you tomorrow.